Hello, I'm Wayne Visser. I'm Director of CSR International, and I'm here today with Tanya Mahajan, who is in charge of the CSR Ratings Project at Karmayog. Welcome.
Thank you.
Could you start out by just telling us what is the CSR Rating Project that you're working on?
Karmayog has completed our third CSR study and rating of the largest 500 corporates in India. We started this rating in the year 2007, and it's a rating of companies that are publicly listed on the stock exchange, the 500 largest by sales. And the rating is from level 0 to level 5, where level 5 is the highest. Level 1 we assign to companies who mention in their annual reports or websites of some CSR that they do. The source of the research is information that the companies publicly mention themselves. So the two sources that we refer to is the company's official website and their annual reports. We also email to the companies about the information that we get on them and ask them whether they would like to add or verify any of that. Companies which get to level 2 do slightly more CSR and have deepened their own work. And level 3 is where we can see fairly serious commitment on their part, and they have committed significant resources and money and have also outlined a CSR program. And level 4 companies are those where they have integrated CSR into their business processes, and they are seriously they've got a long-term program on CSR and have specified goals on what they're doing.
Okay, and what have been your findings in the latest rating?
So in the third year, we have seen that there's a significant increase in the amount of CSR that is happening in India. In the first year of our rating in 2007, out of 500, almost half of the companies were doing no CSR. And at that time, 4 companies only got the highest rating of level 4. This year, we've seen that the number of companies not doing CSR has dropped to just 25%, and there are 13 companies in the highest rating of level 4. In all the 3 years of our rating, no company has got a level 5 rating. Karmayog defined, before we started the rating and for the study, we defined what CSR means. So we define CSR to mean that every company harms the environment, just as every individual does. Therefore, CSR is about 2 aspects. First, the steps that a company takes to minimize the harm that it is causing to the environment, and thereafter the positive steps that the company takes using its resources of people, skill, money to contribute positively to solve some of the problems and social issues that are present in society.
And what's been the reaction of the companies?
The reactions have been various. In the first year, in 2007, when we did this study, CSR was at that time emerging as a concept in India. And there was very little reaction from the companies themselves. There was a lot of reaction from NGOs and from websites and organizations outside India who are studying CSR issues. And over the next year, and especially this year, the interest and response of companies has increased. So a lot more are now responding and sending us data about their CSR activities before and during our study to include it in the ratings. And also we've seen after the second year that companies who were rated highly are including their rating in their annual reports and mentioning it publicly as a recognition of their efforts.
And are there any sectors that are doing better than other sectors, and any issues that are coming forward as more important?
As part of the ratings, we also did a sector study because that enables us to look at the companies in an easier manner. So it was increasingly obvious that some sectors are doing more CSR than others. For example, in India, the banking sector, companies in the banking sector are doing a lot of CSR activities. This has a lot to do with the fact of a large number of large banks in India being government owned, and the government regulatory body for banks in India has specified several guidelines which are mandatory for these banks to follow. For example, lending to particular sectors which normally do not get access to credit easily, employment of disabled and minority groups. So by default, the banking sector, then companies there are doing a lot, and private sector banks are also following these steps. There were similarly some sectors where there is very little CSR activity happening. These in India's context would be sectors which have grown very quickly in the last few years, therefore regulation is lagging beyond the growth of the sector. The construction industry would be one, where there has been a huge boom in construction and infrastructure development in India, and there are a large number of private companies, and sadly there's very little CSR activity happening. And our conclusion from that is most of these companies in this sector have a very short-term view. So they are not really focused on being present for the next 50 or 100 years. Their goal is to be present during the boom, make money and then exit. So that is rather worrisome. And so from the sector analysis, and the next step that comes is where we list out recommendations to government for various sectors and for companies in general. So these sector analysis help us in these.
Finally then, what are the top issues that are being covered under CSR by Indian companies?
Most of the companies who are doing good CSR are looking at their own individual products and processes and tackling those first. So for example, the mining companies are looking at issues of displacement and rehabilitation. These are the companies I'm talking about who are rated high, and tackling those first because those are the ones that cause the most difficult issues of people being displaced. So the company then has a rehabilitation policy in place and long-term plans for the people who are affected. The companies who are doing good CSR are all looking at environmental impacts very seriously, at minimizing these. Many of them have gone beyond the existing government norms and have set new benchmarks for that particular sector, which is an excellent practice because then other companies in that sector have to then rise up to do that much CSR. Most of the companies are also tackling issues of poverty which do exist in India, and these companies are located in areas that are remote and which have less resources. So community work and community involvement is being done by most of the companies who've been rated well in various areas, and it is exciting and inspiring because these companies have realized that to tackle these problems of poverty and scarce resources in India, companies need to step forward and partner with government, supplement government's efforts and give their resources so that these problems can be solved. So these steps are being taken.
Well, thank you very much, and I wish you well with taking the ratings forward.
Thank you.